Hey, all you gearheads, welcome back to the second edition of the Car News episode with Jacob.
Josh.
And we're going to start right into it because we have quite a few articles to cover, so we're going through these pretty quick today. So the first thing, time is of the essence. But the first thing that we have, while it's still relevant in pretty much every other news outlet, recently the Department of the Homeland Security's cybersecurity and infrastructure, what mouthful of a department there. They recently just ruled that car sales and car sales floors are looped into the essential business part. So earlier before that, of course, we knew like hospitals, grocery stores, any place that does food, stuff like that was already ruled. And even before, car service at the dealership was considered essential. But now car buying is considered essential. However, that decision is still kicked over to all 50 state governors to decide if they want that for their state. But that's just the federal department just saying, if you want to, this is okay to have running again.
Right. And that's nice. I mean, because there's a lot of situations. I mean, I've been reading up on some articles where they're discussing that their customers that really need to have a different car that are still essential workers. It's not very common, but there are those instances where those people are like, my car doesn't work anymore. The transmission's all messed up. I don't have the money to fix it. So I need to get a different car. So, I mean, this is good.
And I mean, I have nothing else to add to that, to your explanation, because I mean, if you can repair a vehicle, but a vehicle, it's cheaper to go buy one than it is to spend thousands of dollars fixing whatever problem you have, then, you know, I mean, people do that all the time. So I figured it was only a matter of time, but it just makes sense that that's what they're doing now.
Right.
So speaking of car sales, I see that you wanted to talk about the M2 specifically, Josh. So what do you have for us on that?
So news-wise, it's just a bunch of good information about how you guys are able to snatch up a good M2 right now. This is specifically talking about your 2016, those earlier models, going on a certified pre-owned, roughly about 30, 40,000 miles. People have turned them in. And what's nice, I know everybody out there, the cult BMW followers are like, why didn't you say M3? But like, you know, right here we're talking about M2, not a crazy amount of power, a lot of fun. I think at the end of the day, most car reviewers have, and some others haven't, but in my opinion, it's more of a driver's car. And you can get it really right now standard with the manual transmission. The engine isn't too crazy, but at the end of the day, they even are talking about how the M2, the original one, is actually better than the current M2 competition, which is very interesting because of the essence of it being the newer model. It's a little bit rarer. They're harder to keep, to get one right now at a dealership just because they're so popular. But even though it's only has 365 horsepower compared to the M2 competition pushing over 400, they both have this the same 0 to 60. So at the same time, instead of spending $50,000 to $60,000 on a brand new M2 competition, go grab yourself one that's in the lower 30s that has roughly 20 to 30, even 40,000 miles on it, and have just as much fun. So,
yeah, I saw that they were hard to get when they first came out, but now with the competition and the CS M2, people are the enthusiasts are starting to buy those ones. And even like you said, it's a relatively cheap. You're talking an M Series car.
Yeah.
Not that you're not paying super expensive M Series price. And you can even get one of these cheaper than a brand new 2 Series Grand Coupe.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so hopefully this picks up a little bit just to drive that driver's market compared to the original 1 Series M, which right now actually is driving a price higher than what it originally went for brand new, which is crazy. So collectors are out there.
Yeah, for sure. But speaking of other performance luxury vehicles, we see that the Acura TLX Type S is more of a possibility than it was a rumor.
Type S, man, that's cool.
Yes. According to GV Forums, Honda submitted a trademark for TLX Type S to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office back on March 30th. So not too long ago, a little bit less than a month ago.
They're trying to...
Yeah, under the radar. They're like, you know, everybody else is worried about other stuff right now. We're just going to slip this patent under the door for you. But no, so that's actually pretty recent. And like you said, this is going to be a twin turbo 3-liter V6 pushing out 350 horsepower, which is quite a bit more than the most recent TLX. So the last time we also saw the Type S name used was with the TSX Type S in the late 2000s, so like 2008, which I also thought was a great looking sedan for the time being. It did not look like a late 2000s model to me. It looked ahead of its time back then, in my opinion. But even with this, according to CarBuzz, they had spoken to somebody at Acura, and they were going to unveil it at the 2020 New York Auto Show, but recent world circumstances, they're going to do it online now.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Before then, I think it was considered a concept. So this is nice to see them actually doing this.
The Type S is based off of the, I think it said it was based off of the Type S concept that debuted at the Monterey Car Week.
Okay.
So that's where you're seeing these pictures come from. Is it got the inspiration from that, which to me, I'm pretty sure that's what it was to begin with. Yeah. But people are saying the vehicles it's going to compete with is, like you were just saying, talking about BMW, this car is supposed to compete with the M340i, the Audi S4, and the Mercedes-Benz C43 AMG. So other luxury, sportier styling and performing sedans.
Yeah, beautiful car. What's great as well, I think what I was reading as well, is that Acura will start implementing a lot of those design aspects from that concept into their newer versions of the TLX just in general. So I'm looking forward to that as a model line. I always thought since the updated versions in 2018 came out, it's been a beautiful car, and I can't wait to see what Acura starts coming out with.
Oh yeah, when they do stuff like the A specs, and now you're gonna come out with the Type S, you're at the expectation bar is up here right now.
It's like calm down. I can only like accept all that's good at one point. You know, like
yeah,
overdosed.
Well, we will keep the highs up, Hope. But speaking of vehicles trying to become a more luxury brand, what information do you have for us on the upcoming Mazda 6, Josh?
Well, this may make some people mad, but right now, Mazda apparently coming out and later, I think it says late 2021, so next year or maybe earlier next year, they're talking about coming and with the updated version of the Mazda 6 having an inline twin turbo 6-cylinder. So, like, where else does that come from? We'll bring it up again. BMW. So there's no correlation right now saying that the engine came from BMW. I think this is Mazda's variation of that engine, but still super cool. If you haven't ever heard an inline 6, really a unique sound, love it. It's actually a really good step for the brand, because this may be a way for a car buyer out there to slip into an inline turbo 6 engine out there for a much lower price compared to what it used to be for getting into either like a 335i BMW back then, or even the 340i's. And now with the M3's variation of it and all of their other models in their line that do include the inline 6. So this is pretty cool stuff. Right now they're looking at it potentially, this isn't confirmed yet, but pushing around similar to the TLX Type S, having about 350 horsepower. So that is a huge step for Mazda. I mean, what do you think, Jacob?
Well, I mean, this article where we got all this information from, I was reading it, and they're kind of trying to slip into the mid-luxury segment here, is what that is.
Mid-luxury.
Mid-luxury. And they kind of threw in like a funny little sarcastic comment where they're like, that died out 40 years ago. How's Oldsmobile doing now? And I was like, yeah, oh gosh. But I mean, I think they're going to see pretty good success with it. I mean, you see the renderings of these vehicles. They look like good-looking vehicles. They're very slick. It's a different direction for Mazda. And I kind of see it as like the Kia Cadenza or like the K900, where Kia is known for being a cheap brand, but then they have these luxury sedans. So to me, that's what I relate to the new Mazda 6.
Still cool stuff.
Oh, yeah. So maybe LeBron will drive this one too. Who knows?
Just like a Buick.
Yeah, Shaq and a Buick. Yeah. But speaking of other, I would consider mid-luxury vehicles, the redesign of the Volkswagen Tiguan. So this would be the third official generation, right, Josh?
Right. The original being what you had seen for the majority of the time.
Yeah.
I want to say it's like about late 2000s into the starting of the 2010s of having what was known later as the Tiguan Limited.
Okay.
And then now the redesign was in 2018 with the Tiguan that you now see majority on the road. And now they're talking about refreshing it. And I personally, I think, they've been killing it selling that car. The research shows it's the third top selling vehicle in the world, which is absolutely remarkable. I mean, you see a lot of them here. I think last year they sold a little over, they sold a little over 300,000 total units for Volkswagen last year for brand new vehicles, and 1/3 of them were the Tiguan.
Oh,
so
shoot.
Yeah, that's a lot. They sold 120, something like that, 130,000 last year, but
so a little bit more than a third, because you said it was 300,000, right?
Yeah, so it's all estimates. It's
rounded number. Yeah, that's still quite a bit.
Yeah, but the cool thing, this is still rumored, but similar to how we had already talked about previously in some of our videos, how the GTI and the Golf R are getting a little bit more of an upgrade with power. There is some talk about the Tiguan getting faster than the 178 horsepower, the turbocharged 4-cylinder that it has right now. So potentially pushing similar to maybe 220. I don't know. Maybe it's more competitive because I know in that market it's one of the slower ones, but knowing that it's Volkswagen, their turbocharged engines have low-end torque. So you still feel that power early on. You're just not exactly going to blow anybody's doors off down the highway, which I don't think that's why you're buying it. So
no, for sure. That's not what an SUV is for. But speaking of adding power, like that's what people want with these vehicles. With the SUV, like you said, you're not going to blow doors off people, and that's really not why you buy an SUV unless you're getting like a Trackhawk. But that's a different type of vehicle owner right there. But if people still want more power in the vehicle than what they're getting, because you still got to get up to highway speed, or if you're driving across nation or state or even across the city, you want to be able to go highway speed. And if your vehicle comes with like 150 horsepower, then that's not very useful in those scenarios. Like it take you a whole 10 minutes just to get up to the 70-mile-an-hour speed limit or wherever you're at.
It's a cool trend because, if you're talking about the car industry way back in the day in the 60s and the 70s, you're talking about how big and bad can I make this car? And then you had that time period from the 70s, 80s, and 90s where we had to make them more fuel efficient. Yeah. And so there's a bad lull. And then going into the 2000s, we're trying to get faster. And now we're finally at a point that I think buyers and car industry people are able to make a fuel efficient car while also making it very fun to drive. So that's a lot of exciting stuff in the car industry. We're able to get north of 200 horsepower and still get north of 30 miles per gallon on the highway with the car that shouldn't be getting that. So it's great.
Which is what we were just talking about with all these other vehicles. That's why the Mazda 6 is doing this. That's why the TLX Type S is doing this. These are nice mid-luxury or upper luxury sedans with over 300 horsepower. So not only do they look good to drive, but they are fun to drive too. So I think that's what car manufacturers are going for now.
Make cool noises, good gas mileage, fun to drive.
3 boxes, you need to check all of them, please.
Good paint colors. Okay.
4 boxes. But there's other vehicles that are also getting power additions within the next year or two. One of the first ones, a relevant vehicle that comes up to mind, is the 2021 Supra. So with the 2020 that we just had, a big criticism that a lot of people I was seeing consistently with people who've been pointing things out about it is really a 330 horsepower Toyota Supra. Like, this is what we're getting, or 340. Yeah. Well, in 2021, the Supra is supposed to get the updated inline-6 turbo engine from BMW that it currently uses. It's getting the updated one, which is going to bump it up. I think it was like 47, almost 50 horsepower, up to 382 horsepower and 368 foot-pound of torque. In the same article we pulled this from, it said that it's losing MPG because of this. 2 miles per gallon in the city and 1 on the highway. Like,
I'm not buying a Supra to get good gas mileage. Like, if I wanted good gas mileage, a sports car, I'm getting a Miata.
But I'm sacrificing 2 and 1, or 2 MPG and 1 MPG for almost 50 horsepower. I'll take that. That's fine.
I think at that point it's more of a you're proud moment. Like you don't want to go out and get the super crowd that was super excited
Oh,
from the early 90s with the
yes.
original Supra and how it had a bunch of horsepower back then, but now the new one just doesn't have as much of an increase compared to its competitors from back then. So this is good.
This is good.
Step.
Next step. Manual transmission. That's all I'm gonna say.
I wouldn't count it out. I mean, you see, if it's coming from BMW does make manual transmissions.
Yep.
So that I don't know. Maybe enough people arguing and getting upset.
You know who else makes manual transmissions? Toyota, and puts it in their Tacomas.
Really?
So, yeah, you can. I know a couple years. I don't know about 2020 Tacomas, but like with the newer body style, you could still find some with a manual transmission.
That's so interesting.
Yes. So let's put it in the Supra now. Even if it's not a BMW one, Toyota can make it somehow and put it in there. But other vehicles that, speaking of trucks, and I don't know if this one comes with a manual transmission, but the Ford Ranger is coming with a new factory option. Probably not. The Tacoma with the manual transmission is weird enough. I don't know how many, older trucks would have them, but like newer ones, like not so much anymore. Yeah. But with the Ranger, they're offering the $825 factory option if you go to a Ford dealer or any ASC certified dealer or shop. And it's a power additive. So it's a 400 or not 4. You wish it was a 450 horsepower tune-up.
Dang!
45 additional horsepower and 60 foot-pound of torque. The horsepower is somewhere in the middle of the RPM range, and the torque is lower, like at 2,500 RPM, which is what you want for torque, is lower. That's only going to help your towing, and we're talking about a truck here. But you'll enjoy this, Josh. This power additive comes with a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. I know how much you like those warranties. So,
well, shoot, that's like the fun fact about Ford when they came out with the Roush version of their Mustangs.
Oh gosh, yes.
And you could get the Stage 3 Roush at one point called the Jackhammer.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. You could get
the
same factory warranty on the powertrain, even though it was supercharged and pushing 700 plus horsepower, which is cool with me. Like 5 years, 60,000 miles. What a deal. Like, I don't even know how many trips up and down a drag strip that is, but.
Well, in our previous video, we were talking about stock versus modded. Like, people were asking, why would I spend 60, 65, 70 grand on this vehicle? Versus my position of I can make a vehicle faster for cheaper. It comes with the warranty. So when Josh's fear of it blowing up comes to fruition, you just show up to the dealership and go, I don't know what happened. I don't know. And then they fix it.
When should we expect that to be available for the Ranger?
I didn't see a pending date, so this makes me think that you could go get it now.
Nice.
They already do suspension stuff for the Rangers and even some of the F-150s where it's like a lift and suspension kit and stuff. So if they're talking about this now, I'm pretty sure you go get it done pretty soon.
Nice. That's good.
But for the last one that we had on here, talking about a different style of vehicle. So we had a coupe, we had a truck, and now we're throwing a hot hatch at you. So we know that Toyota makes a hatchback 5-door Corolla. Well, now they're making in about 2022 year model is what I'm reading, a Corolla GR, which is their Gazzo Racing, which is basically their racing division. And it's basically getting so they had a Yaris GR that had this 1.6 liter straight 3-cylinder engine with the turbo. This Corolla is going to get that engine, which is a 257 horsepower and 266 torque engine. And people are already comparing this to the GTI. Yes. So this is going to be a GTI comparison. So like you have, of course, the Type R is like the big daddy. We talked in a previous episode. That's one of the best hot hatches that somebody could go buy and drive on the road right now. And not very many people are thinking, I want to beat just the GTI. So GTI is kind of dominating that minor hot hatch market, with like the Ford Focus R, not like the RS, but like the ST is the one I'm thinking of. And so now Toyota's like, we'll put our foot in this door. We'll play this game with y'all.
100%.
Yeah. So that's the 3 vehicles that we saw recently that are getting power additives. If you've seen other vehicles coming out soon with other stuff like that, let us know, because Josh and I, we like horsepower and torque. So if you got more for it, send it to us.
If you guys have any vehicles you think should have more power, go ahead and send us those too.
Yeah.
We can talk about them, discuss them. But outside of that, we really appreciate you guys. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let us know if you would like to see any other videos later on. But other than that, this is Gulf Coast Gearheads signing off for you guys.
Appreciate y'all.